Let's bring in the Center Square's investigative reporter, Kenneth Schrupp, with his latest story, California pensions ESG losses now under congressional investigation. Kenneth, what in the world is ESG for those people who out there have no idea what that acronym stands for?
ESG is environmental, social, and governance type investing and values alignment, right? This means looking at an investment or a company or organization from the perspective of, is it meeting certain environmental, social, or usually progressive related governance guidelines and objectives? This was instituted as even an investment benchmark for a lot of companies. And one of the problems here is, what does that mean for fiduciary duty for the people you're investing the money on behalf of? Is that money actually being invested in a way where your money is responsibly being invested because getting actually healthy returns is what's prioritized over progressive social and political objectives?
Yeah, I think it's important to, again, highlight that fiduciary responsibility, right? If you have money you're giving to somebody to invest, you want the biggest bang for your investment buck. You don't want them to necessarily direct those funds to something that's not going to perform well just so that they can feel good about whatever, environmental, social, or governance type of policies that company may have. So with this particular story, though, you're looking at the California pensions, their ESG standards. Why should taxpayers care about that?
Taxpayers should care because taxpayers are on the line. If you have a corporate pension that goes belly up, there is really no one to bail you out. Your company has made a bad decision and your retirement has been impacted as a result. Very different picture when it comes to taxpayers. If CalPERS, for example, is unable to make good on its pension obligations, guess what? You're paying for it. Everyone in the whole state is paying for it. The actual pension deficit in California is in the hundreds of billions of dollars across the state and local levels. CalPERS alone in December was estimated to have an over $160 billion pension deficit.
It's pretty remarkable. And again, this isn't just in California. You have other states that are trying to somehow direct their public investments into ESG issues. And this, again, questions whether or not that fiduciary responsibility of those public dollars to get the biggest investment possible is actually playing out if they're relegating their investments towards certain assets like ESG assets. But you also, in this investigation, find that this particular fund in CalPERS not performing well at all and actually losing money.
Yes, it's about $500 million that was invested into this fund. This is the CalPERS Clean Energy and Technology Private Equity Fund that they created. They lost 71% of the money. That's over $300 million just lost. And they wouldn't tell me exactly how they lost the money. There are Public Records Act exemptions in California for some investment-related matters. And so I was not able to actually figure out how this money was lost. And there are some hints, though. We know that this company that was responsible for a lot of the money probably invested it in domestic solar manufacturing. That might ring a bell because of something called Solyndra, where the Obama administration gave these loans out. I think it was millions, if not billions of dollars to a solar manufacturing company in California. Of course, most of these domestic solar investments were wiped out from the late 2000s, early 10s because of competition from China, where the government massively subsidized all of the inputs, all of the raw inputs, the labor, the factories. And so we've seen solar get dumped across the world from China. Naturally, the California and other domestic solar manufacturers just couldn't compete. So I think that's where some of that money was lost. We'll actually see, because a congressional inquiry has now been launched into how this money was lost. You can maybe get around a Public Records Act request, but you cannot deny a congressional inquiry. So we'll have answers very soon.
You had an exclusive interview with California Congressman Kevin Kiley. I want to hear your thoughts after we check this clip you got from him talking about the problems he sees with this type of ESG funding using public resources.
When you see these sort of ESG policies, whatever you might think about the values behind these, whether it's labor related or environmental related or whatever else it might be, it is axiomatic that when you're making investment decisions in order to advance those causes, for ideological reasons, then by definition, you're not doing it in a way that is singularly driven towards getting healthy returns for the health of the fiscal stability of the fund and the benefit of the pension holders. And it's particularly problematic in a state like California, where we have such a vast amount of debt. When it comes to retirement obligations, if you have a fund that is underperforming because of other ideological factors that are getting into the mix, that's a major problem.
So what is it that they're looking for? What can Congress do to put some sunlight for taxpayers and for pensioners in California and elsewhere?
Well, we're going to see if there was proper due diligence done. We're going to see the internal communications about how some of these investments were made. We're going to see how much money a lot of the people involved in consulting were paid for this, what kind of fees went around, who might have been connected from a political standpoint. There's a lot going on here that we'll be able to see with the congressional investigation that, like, I, even as a reporter, simply do not have access to.
So definitely something to be watching at thecentersquare.com. Our investigative team, including Kenneth Schrupp here, delving deep into these issues. And it's kind of fascinating too, Kenneth, to see where these roadblocks are for just public transparency, right? You not being able to get the type of information to fully tell the story on why there was a drop in that amount of investment. Is there any awareness at the California State House to try to close those loopholes and to get the sunlight on these dollars?
Well, the loophole was created by the California State Legislature. The California State Legislature is now trying to at least introduce, and if not pass, rules that would allow for NDAs into the failing high-speed rail project, which has change orders and costs going up and up and up. The new head of the project was recently arrested on misdemeanor charges for possible domestic violence related call that they received. He's now on leave. It seems to be that his fiance or girlfriend was just able to get a large contract with KPMG, which is also managing, of course, a lot of the consulting for the project. There's a lot of funky things going on with this high-speed rail project, and we may not ever be able to see what's happening if this new legislation goes through, or at least how it relates to change orders and rapidly rising costs that I think Californians should care a lot about.
A lot of tax dollars involved in all of these things, and you want as much transparency as possible to make sure that those dollars are going to where they need to go. Kenneth Schrupp, investigative reporter for the Center Square, greatly appreciate your reporting, and we'll be staying tuned to see what happens with your latest at thecentersquare.com.